Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Today, broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University, this is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome into Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Dylan Vire here with Alex Pohl, and we are extra smiley today because we are so excited to be back. We weren't here last semester, but we're here this semester, and this is extra sentimental for Alex and I, not only because we are seniors, but we go way back to high school together. And do you remember our first day freshman year, we took class together, and now it's kind of like the ending. We started Newhouse together, now we're like ending it together. Yeah. So it's gonna be awesome. We have an awesome slate of things to talk about today, and including a new start to a season, and that is your favorite season. Let me just say something. In high school, Alex was much better with a stick in her hand. I was much better with a baseball bat in my hand. So she is the lacrosse girl. So I will be asking her a lot of questions, but lacrosse season is upon us.
So excited.
So excited. I've said in the past that Syracuse isn't a lacrosse school and it's more of a basketball school, but I think I have to retract that statement. I think Syracuse, especially this season, is a lacrosse school. So let's start with a recap of yesterday's game. Syracuse men's lacrosse beat number 17 BU in the Dome 13-6. What are your initial reactions to that win?
I was a little concerned at the start.
Okay.
I mean, they got off to a slow start.
Yes.
But there was a lot of adjustments that needed to be made on this team, and that happened throughout the offseason. Overall, though, so happy with the performance of this team. First of all, Jimmy McCool started off very slow within the pipes, was struggling, but didn't have, by the time that the BU goalie had like 5 or 6 saves, Jimmy McCool had none.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Syracuse was still in the lead because of the attack, but that's not what you want to see coming in from like an all-ACC goalie, all of this stuff, all these accolades he's gotten. But at the end of the day, he figured it out. He found himself in there. All was well, and I think he's going to be great throughout the rest of the season. I have no concerns on that. And it's your first time playing. There's a lot that you can do in practice. He's obviously facing shots from, Joey Spallina, Peyton Anderson, Michael Leah, all these great stars. But there's so little that you can truly replicate in practice, especially the 10-man ride, which Syracuse struggled with at one point. They had a lot of struggles, but they figured it out towards the end, and especially after halftime.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Listen, Jimmy McCool had 12 saves on 18 shots, so obvious, and his defense helped him out yesterday. If there's one highlight of Syracuse's game yesterday, maybe their offense was a little slow, definitely a dip in the second quarter, and Garrigate even said at the half, listen, we have to come out with more firepower here in the second half, and they definitely did. But Jimmy McCool was helped by that Syracuse defense, especially with the step up of guys like Peyton Anderson. And when you have guys like that step up, I mean, this Syracuse senior squad, like they were saying so much yesterday on the broadcast, is really what's going to be the game changer for Syracuse this season. You mentioned Joey Spallina, Michael Leo, Billy Dewan, Jimmy McCool's a senior. This team and what they did yesterday, I think national championship is the only place for this team to go.
I mean, not to say it's their only goal, but even Finn Thompson said it himself, that is the goal. That's where they want to go to. But then talking to Michael Leo after the game, he's like, hey, we're not looking at that. We're just looking game by game.
Right.
So in some ways, it's a player perspective, but at the end of the day, that is the team goal. It's what they've said from the start. It's part of why they brought in Joey Spallina, that #1 recruit in the nation coming out of high school in our senior class. But that recruitment group as a whole, the players you mentioned, along with also Luke Roa, who's done a phenomenal job the past 4 years, all of them combined, and Finn Thompson as well, who was injured last season. Now he's back to full health. You can't even imagine the amazing things he's going to do on the field. They can win a national championship.
100%.
They were in the Final Four last season, ACC champions. There's so much for them to do. There's just little things they have to figure out along the way.
Definitely. We saw some of those things yesterday, and that is the clear for Syracuse and the turnovers for Syracuse. Two things that this team did struggle with a little last year. Of course, first game jitters, but I'd love to see that get cleaned up, and a lot of that came from forced feeds from Joey Spallina. You could definitely tell yesterday 100%. Spallina was a little frustrated in his game, still ended the game with 5 points and is climbing that Syracuse leaderboard. But the turnovers for Syracuse are definitely something, especially when you get into ACC play. And I mean, they have a test in Maryland next Friday at the Dome, which is the team that beat them in the Final Four. You definitely have to get that cleaned up pretty quickly because of Syracuse's tough schedule.
Yeah, the problem with the clear is more of the ride that they're facing. So like I said, that 10-man ride that BU was forcing on them. BU is obviously a great team. They're top 20 contenders, and that's, I think, in some ways, a strength of the Syracuse schedule is that they started with a top team, not some easy throwaway win. They learned that they had stuff to work on, and they figured those things out at halftime. But facing a team that's just going to try and cause chaos, that's all they can do. They have a strong attack. They had a solid goalie, but they know they're not Syracuse.
Yep.
So what those teams are going to do who need to try and beat us is they're going to cause chaos. They're going to attack you in every way, shape, and form. And that's where Syracuse needs to be able to keep their composure and figure out those clears, not force anything. And then, like you said with Joey Spallina, a lot of forced shots, 12 shots in the game yesterday.
Yeah. I think that's just the type of player that Joey Spallina is. He wants to listen. Joey Spallina, he said it himself. He's not worried about his own individual statistics. He's such a team player and a team guy, but he does care about his game and how he plays. He's the #1 lacrosse player in the nation, and he's been that way since freshman year. So he knows his responsibility as a player and for this team, but he's a senior now, so he has to kind of know when to step into that role and take the right shots, and then when to step back and maybe not try to do the Joey Spallina goal every time, especially when you get into these harder games. But I'll ask you this. If there was a player yesterday that really stepped up into a role that was important, not the big names, not the Joey Spallinas, who was that guy yesterday?
I mean, usually I would say, Johnny Mullen on the taking
you took the words right out of my mouth.
But he's someone that was expected from.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to go with Peyton Anderson.
Okay.
For the fact that everyone, myself included, was concerned about the left wing. You have Owen Hiltz, who's, I'd like to say, one of the best attackmen that we've seen in the Syracuse team in years. He had over 200 points. He's one of 7 players to have 100 goals and 100 assists.
Yeah, crazy.
He is, honestly, I compare him a lot to Joey Spallina, but without him, he's just stepped up in multiple games last season and the seasons leading up to it. And then you expect that Trey Deer is going to fill that spot, especially because of all the chemistry he's had playing with Joey over the summer, playing box together. So who was going to fill that role? A lot of people talked about Michael Leo shifting down from the midfield, but Peyton Anderson proved himself in that game. He did a phenomenal job.
2 goals.
Yeah, he had 2 goals in the game. He also had an assist. He had no turnovers in that game. And there were a lot of opportunities where I think, especially early on, where Joey was potentially missing the net, or, I mean, every player was. They hit the pipes multiple times. I think that could have been a feed to Peyton. He had his hands open so many times, was there in front of the crease, and he's someone that's not a small player. We have a lot of guys in this team that are that 5'8", 5'9" range, and they make up for it very well. Peyton Anderson's 6'2".
Yeah.
He knows how to stand his own. He's aggressive right along the crease, and I think he did a great job of proving himself in that game that he can be that guy.
I 100% agree with you. So Peyton Anderson, John Mullen was my guy yesterday, but I'll go a different route, and I'll say a guy that maybe doesn't show up on the score sheet, but you definitely heard his name yesterday. Riley Figueres is a key player, especially in this Syracuse defense. It seemed like you do not want to be on a matchup with him because he just takes down great offensive players, especially for BU yesterday. So that was my guy yesterday. What are your thoughts on his game?
I love Riley Fierce. I think he does such a phenomenal job. He was out his freshman year with injury, came back sophomore year, and he did not look like a sophomore on that field. He's so aggressive. He knows how to lock down. And like you mentioned before, how Jimmy McCool had a good game, that comes down to the defense and how well they're playing. And it's because some of those shots that McCool faced were because Riley Figueres' stick is in the way. He's making contact with these guys. He doesn't give up easy shots.
Right.
And that's going to help out McCool 100%, especially staying in games that are going to feel really long when you get to those tough opponents like Maryland.
Yeah, and speaking of those tough opponents, let's kind of look at Syracuse's schedule ahead. Gary Gait has purposefully said that he has scheduled this season to test this team, because if there's any team that's going to win a national championship, it is this team led by the senior squad. So looking at Syracuse's schedule, they're going to face 5 top 10 opponents and 14 teams mentioned in the preseason poll. And here's the thing, I said they get right into it. Next Friday, they will play Maryland, who's the #1 team in the nation, won it all, and beat Syracuse in the Final Four. They play St. Joseph's on Saturday, which they should win, and that will be a great game to clean up the mistakes they made versus BU. But what are you expecting from this rematch next Friday?
I am expecting a win from this squad, because they had BU to kind of test some things out, and I think that it's better to play BU first rather than St. Joe's first.
100% agree.
Because BU is going to show you from the first few minutes of the game where you got to clean it up. Yep. And they did. And then Syracuse was a completely different team in that third quarter, scoring 6 goals.
Yeah.
6 goals straight. And then they only had 1 goal between either team next quarter of Joey Spallina. So being able to make those many changes in the halftime, if you played some teams like we used to play, if we had our first game against Manhattan, Hobart, still solid, great programs, but you're not seeing those little tiny things as you do with BU. So like you said, they're going to fix it during St. Joe's, and I think they can come out with a win against Maryland. And I think that not only should they, but they need to. If they're saying they want to and will be winning this national championship, that comes with beating Maryland, because that proves you're going to take down the team that took you down last year in the Final Four, as well as they, like you mentioned, they have a very, very difficult schedule ahead of them. And after that Maryland game, they're on the road for 6 games straight.
Crazy.
They're not going to have the, home dome advantage, having the insane Syracuse crowd that comes out that's just excited as I am for lacrosse season. Dylan's changing her, slowly shifting his way.
I am.
Syracuse
Listen,
is a lacrosse school.
Let me say, I used to never watch lacrosse. I can admit that, okay? And last year when this team went to the playoffs, I jumped on that bandwagon, I will fully admit, and I was like, lacrosse is kind of cool, like, okay. And then I'm like, wait, Syracuse is like the Alabama football of lacrosse. Like, I'm definitely watching now, and now I'm all in. But I agree with you. Next Friday is not a want. It's a need to win. You got to beat the guys. And we saw them come out with their pregame warm-up shirt saying burn the boats, which was in reference to this team beating them. I think especially, as I've said before, the Syracuse senior squad has so much fire beneath them, and they're so ready. And I think it's a home game, so that's a total positive for Syracuse. And I think they're just going to come out firing, and you're going to see a different kind of Syracuse team. And I think they have a real chance to beat Maryland.
I think they do have a real chance, but they have to win this game. Not that it's going to ruin their season if they don't. It's not going to ruin their standings. They're the #1 team in the nation.
Correct.
So what are you going to do if they don't beat them? Last year everyone was saying that there's so much to hang their heads over when they lost to Cornell. Cornell was the #1 team in the nation. What are you going to do? There's still so many positives to take away. But this is going to set the tone. Like you mentioned, they are going to be at home. They're going to have their fans. I think it's going to be some of the biggest attendance that they're going to get all season.
I honestly am going.
It's the #1 team. I will be there.
It's my first lacrosse game ever that I will attend in person, and I am so excited.
But the thing is that's going to set the tone. They're going to be on the road, also facing top opponents. And that's, I think, going to be the game that's going to prove, can they win this national championship? It's the first 2 weeks of the season.
Right.
Don't want to put too much pressure on it, but I think it's going to help, and it's going to show them what they need to do. And if they don't, there's going to be a lot to learn from that game, and that is going to sit with them for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a matter of, can they shake that loss off and keep moving away from being away from Syracuse?
Yeah.
Or are they going to win and continue that momentum for the entire season? I am one to say I'm not against start of season losses.
Neither am I.
If you're winning every single game, you got to lose somewhere because you need to figure out where to make those adjustments. Like against Boston University yesterday, they struggled at the start. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to come out first possession, be ripping on the cage. No, that is not what happened, like at all.
No.
And that's okay because they adjusted. So if they lose against Maryland, in some ways, you want them to lose at least one game in the middle of the season at some point, because we've had a women's team who's been undefeated an entire season and then struggled and fallen off at the end. Thankfully, their hardest opponent is right here at the start of Maryland. But if that happens, there's so much for them to work towards in the end. And then it's going to be a team they're going to see again at the end of the season and hopefully beat. So it's kind of a need, but it's hard to say because you want them to win this game to prove to themselves and to everyone else that they can. And I hope that they do. But worst case scenario, it's not the end of the world.
So I hear what you're saying. It sounds like it's a win-win. Either they literally win or they win because even in loss, you can highlight exactly what you need to do before they go on the road, and they don't come back to the Dome until March 22nd. But you mentioned women's lacrosse, and I want to pivot to them for a second because they have just as high stakes this season as Syracuse men's lacrosse. This is the first year under Reggie Thorpe as their head coach. Just talk about that a little bit and kind of that significance.
So I could not be more excited about who they decided to choose for their head coach in Reggie Thorpe. He is Syracuse through and through, and he knows his program and he knows where they need to be. So he played here at Syracuse himself on the men's squad. Then he played professionally for years. He came back to coach under Gary Gait for 10 seasons, brought them to multiple championship weekends, Final Four appearances. But in Syracuse women's lacrosse history, they haven't won a national championship.
Which is crazy to think about.
Which is unbelievable because of how much hype there is behind this team.
And their lineups are insane every season. Yeah,
they've gone to the, that Final Four weekend multiple times. And this just shows that, there is improvement. There's something to gain. And having Reggie Thorpe be their head coach is all they could have ever dreamed of. He's played here, he's coached here, he coached this women's team, he knows how to get them to that weekend, and it's something that is within his tool belt. It is something he can do. So being able to have someone who is fully bought in to this program is going to make all the difference for this squad. Not to say that Kayla Traynor wasn't, she played here, she coached here, but Reggie Thorpe knows what it takes, and he has said it in the interviews talking to him. He knows what Syracuse women's lacrosse is and what they can be and what they will be underneath him. And that's what they need. And I've talked to multiple women on this team, and they've said that it's just been night and day having him come in. They loved his coaching style, everything he's done throughout the fall and the off season, and they're so excited to play with him at the Realm this coming season.
Well, a lot of hype around this head coach, but maybe not so much on the men's basketball side. When we come back, we'll talk about Syracuse basketball and their upcoming schedule and some of the struggles they've been facing. We'll be right back. Awesome. Cool. All right, let's look at these comments. Ryan said, is this Coach Gates' make or break season for a championship?
I'd say that's what a lot of people are saying, is this is his make or break season.
I don't think so.
I don't think it is. So it is and it isn't, and I'll explain why. So I think that not that he needs it. It's not like he's in the same position as other coaches where it's, hey, you need to get this team to XYZ spot or you're going to be fired. Absolutely.
Right, yeah. This is Gary Gait.
But Gary Gait at the same time, it's a make or break season for him in terms of it's his last season with that 22 recruiting class. It's one of the best recruiting classes that there ever has been in lacrosse in general. So you have Joey Spallina, you have Jimmy McCool, Luke Roa, Michael Leo, Finn Tom. It's just the list goes on and on and on. So you have these star players who the senior class makes up majority of this starting roster. And then on top of it, you have a lot of strong guys behind them who are within that junior class. You saw Wyatt Hoddle yesterday, who did a great job. Yeah. You have a lot of midfield depth there. And then also on the attacking side, like I mentioned, Peyton Anderson, really proved himself in that game, showed that he can step up. So without that senior class, you still have a lot of great players. You saw Bo Hong yesterday. He did a great job, the freshman coming on in. He showed himself and showed what he could do as well. So there's a lot of players. You have the potential. We haven't seen Owen O'Farrell yet. We didn't see him suit up yesterday, so we'll see what happens there if he ends up suiting up for the season. If it potentially goes redshirt, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Kind of a wait and see game on him, but there's a lot of other names. There just isn't that senior class. So when you take them out of the picture, there sort of needs to be a bit of a rebuild. You still have a lot of great guys, but you don't have that type of group. So I don't think that a national championship next season, I think that they could still get to a Final Four. I think they still have such a phenomenal program, but you're losing so many key components where we've honestly seen teams thrive after they lose some key components because you see where other guys can make up for it. Who've been a bit in the shadows, but I don't think so within this squad. I think in 2 years they could, when you have that sophomore class, which is also very stacked, being seniors.
Right.
But this is kind of the only time you're going to see that sophomore class, the senior class, all of them together. Yeah. And you're going to need to pull out a national championship. I think Coach Gates still has a lot of time with the squad. It's his 5th season with them. Yeah. And he did a phenomenal job with the women's side, but also he's never gotten the national championship as a coach.
Right. I think this season is so special in terms of this senior class, because if they don't win it all, I think you put it unfortunately more on the seniors than the coach, because I think Gary Gate has proved himself in literally coaching these guys from freshmen to where they are as seniors, and what he's done with the sophomores and juniors. I think this is really up to the seniors and how they can perform late into the season, because I don't think we're talking about Gary Gate hot seat if no national championship is hoisted this year.
There's some hot seats for other people, but
we'll be talking about that.
Gary Gate.
Don't even worry.
He's done such a great job, and I think that you want to get them to that national championship day. You want to get that trophy. He definitely wants that for himself as well. Yeah. But he's gotten it as a player, and I think that it's not that he wants it for himself. I think he wants it for these guys. He recruited this class. They came here for him. They knew what he could accomplish. They knew what they could accomplish all together. It's a matter of, will that happen this season? Will it finally click? Because if it doesn't, I'm not saying that you're not going to see them at championship weekend, but who's to say when the next time that's going to be is?
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, and especially, we'll talk about this when we talk about football, but just the entire landscape of college sports right now is just horrible in my opinion, and with all of the transfer portals and the NIL, and people need to...
I agree on that sense. The one place I disagree is the Syracuse lacrosse team.
Okay, that's fine.
Because that's class right there, that senior class we're talking about, they've been here since freshman year. Yeah. Transfer portal, Dante Bowen, only transfer we've had.
It's crazy.
The only person we picked up this year is one transfer. So I think Gary Gate focuses
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back into Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Dylan Vire here with Alex Pohl. And, we are a basketball school through and through still, even though lacrosse is on the rise in my mind. But Syracuse men's basketball is 13-9 this season, even though it feels like we're 1-12 from just the way people are talking and maybe how we feel after we watch every game. We're still in it, maybe, but it's just where do we go from here? People are talking about benching players. People are talking about firing head coaches. I don't think there's a right answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer. My take is, okay, wait a minute. we're 12-9. Sure, we've lost to teams like BC and Hofstra, and we just were on a 4-game losing streak. And yes, so there is panic. I'm not going to tell you there's not panic. There definitely is. But I just need everyone to like take a breath for a second and be like, okay, this team still has the capability because they've shown some great flashes. They beat Tennessee at some point in this season. There is still a chance for this team to come together and say, listen, we do have a really good basketball team here, coached by a really good head basketball coach. We just need to tunnel vision it in the rest of the season. I'm not saying it's easy because they have one of the hardest ACC schedules that they're going to play, but I don't think there's this need to panic. I think Red should keep his job. I know that's controversial, which is like insane that that's controversial in my opinion. But yeah, those are my just initial blabber thoughts on this Syracuse basketball season, what I've been waiting to unleash for the past semester. What are your thoughts on this season so far?
It's so hard, like you said, because, so many people we've had so many losses, and it's so easy to feel so down about the season. Like, wow, like this team's terrible.
Yep.
We lost to BC. We lost to Virginia Tech. We lost to Miami. We lost to NC State. It just feels like the losses have been piling and piling up. But like you mentioned, we're 13-9. Not great, but not the worst thing in the world. But the thing is that having people come out booing Coach Autry,
it's crazy.
I don't agree with that.
No.
I don't. I cannot get behind that. Do I think that there is work that needs to be done? Do I absolutely love everything about his coaching style and his decisions? No, but you can't say you love that about any coach per se. But booing him in his own dome, it's just, I think, uncalled for.
Listen, I understand the Syracuse fan base expects greatness when you've had Jim Boeheim for that long. But especially in this era, like I said, of NIL, of transfer portal, of all of this stuff, like, it can't just be a one and done thing. And I know Coach Autry has been here now for a couple of years, but it's like, what is firing him going to do in the middle of the season when this team isn't done? If this team was a 3 or 4 or 5 win team, I'd understand it. Listen, season's over, but this season is not over yet. And I think the players have trust in Red. There's a reason why guys like Nathan George, Nate Kings transferred in to play under him. There's a reason why Kyan Anthony chose to play here over some school in the West Coast where maybe he could have gotten a little bit more money. I think there is still trust between the player and coach relationship, which is really the only thing that matters in this case. The one thing that I will say that I'd like to see more from Coach Autry is more of discipline factors, whether that's on the bench or, again, I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes and in the film rooms, but there just seems to be sometimes a lack of discipline in this team, and especially sometimes in Kyan Anthony. I've seen a lot of people comment on his body language on the bench. Yes, listen, he's a freshman. He still has, his name carries a lot of weight. I think he understands that, but we need to give a little grace to him and how he's projecting this season as a basketball player, as only a freshman. But I'd like to see Coach Autry coach these guys a little bit more, especially at the end of games when they lose. It almost seems like with 5 minutes left, they give up. Like, we're down by 20-something. We know we've lost. I'd like to see more fire under their belts, especially because you need to start winning some of these games down the stretch. And especially when it comes to that ACC tournament, you're definitely going to need to make it pretty far there if you want a bid to the March Madness.
Yeah, I think that it does come down to that and a matter of the coaching, like you mentioned. So it's so hard, and I do not think he should be, fired after the season at all.
I'm glad we agree.
Whatsoever.
I'm so glad.
So few people do think that. But it's like you said, the whole NIL, transfer portals, this, that. It is so difficult, and this is something that Coach Boeheim never had to deal with. So he had, in the same way, like I had said before, Gary Gay does a phenomenal job of, he keeps his team. When people come here, they stay here. they've had very few people leave. And the reasons behind those weren't like, oh, I'm going here, I want more money, this, that, the other. It's for academic reasons, this, that, and the other thing. He holds on to his squad because they want to play for him. Red Autry has also done a great job, but basketball is also, and football have been completely different. Yep. People are jumping to a different school every single year. Not having enough rules around this is just insane to me. And so it's hard. This is something that you can't compare him to Jim Boeheim on. And then also towards the end of Jim Boeheim's career,
he wasn't winning.
Exactly. Syracuse didn't go to the NCAA tournament. That was not something, they didn't go to March Madness. I have never seen them there, neither of us.
No.
Have ever seen them there before.
Is, by the way, can I just say this? It's like really, really upsetting because my dad went to Syracuse, my uncle went to Syracuse, and it's like, okay, if you go to Syracuse, like you're gonna see like a March Madness appearance. Last year's graduating class was the first time since in a very long time, I don't know exactly when, that they didn't see a March Madness game. And if we don't get to see that, which I mean, I have a feeling that we won't, I'm gonna be really upset.
Yeah, like it's not something you expect when you say, oh, Syracuse is a basketball school. That's why I hold on to the fact that we're a lacrosse school. But overall, in history and everything, it's yes, Syracuse is supposed to be a basketball school because of Jim Boeheim and Carmelo Anthony, Keon Stad. But it's just a matter of the whole landscape of the sport has changed. And so to call for the firing of a coach who's been here, what is it now? 4 years?
Yeah.
3 years as head coach. So that's just so unnecessary because like Dylan mentioned, what on earth is that going to fix?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing, because you have players that are now buying into him, his philosophies, his coaching. Last year, I thought the biggest problem was the fact that, you know, you have all these transfers. You had Eddie Lampkin come in, all these guys, and the issue wasn't that they're not great players, because right now, like you mentioned, we have a solid team.
Yeah.
The issue is also part of it is working together and being a team. And so that comes with a big problem on so many different sports and so many different top programs because of this whole transfer portal situation. So taking the head coach then out of it, pulling him out of this team, putting someone else in, that's going to just deteriorate the team even farther, because the one thing that they do have that's consistent is their coach.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. Just this roster, because there was so much expectation. Forget Kai and Anthony coming into it because of Nate Kings, JJ Starling, Donnie Freeman back and healthy. And I think a lot of people are upset because it's like, where is the leadership from JJ Starling? Where's the production night in and night out from Donnie Freeman? And then the issue of all issues for this team is the free throw shooting. I mean, like, I find myself, and listen, Alex and I did play varsity basketball. I was left bench. Alex played. So I know personally how hard shooting free throws is. I understand that.
Can I interrupt with the fact that when we played varsity basketball together, not only on our team, but on the boys' team in our high school, the amount of sprints that we'd have to do if we did not make our free throws, they used to have. So imagine you have the shot clock up on the board, so you have the time up on the board.
PTSD.
Here from Coach Lashley, Coach Johnson, you Quinlan throwing that up on the board. You would have to do the whole running around, make the shot. Even in warm-ups, you had to make your shots. You do not have a choice. This is a line that does not move. So these guys who are all playing in college, they played in high school too. The line does not move. So the fact that even in high schoolers are like, oh, but they're high schools, of course they're making more shots. It baffles my mind. The line didn't move. That is the one thing that you can guarantee. You can't guarantee if when you're trying to make a layup or do anything that someone's going to make contact with you. The only thing that stays the same in the sport is your free throws. Yes, people screen this, that. Nothing should be able to deter you from the fact of making a shot from that line. No one's perfect. You're not going to make every single one. But the few that we have made, it's just... It wins you games. It's what we were told in high school. That's what's going to win you games.
No, it's true.
Because we had close games where that did make or break your game. So the fact that in high school we're having to take these free throws and then go sprint down and back, and if you miss them, they added more time on the clock. They added more sprints. You had to sprint for every single one miss, doing wind sprints up and down a court, full court suicide. I mean, if I do that in high school and they're missing all their shots here in college, where's the coaching?
And here's why Alex is getting so animated, because not just because of our PTSD, but if you go back and you look at some of these games that Syracuse lost, you can literally say it's because of the free throws. Hofstra, they lost by, it was 70-69. They lost by 2 points. Virginia Tech, they lost by 3 points. It's like some of these games, it really does come down to free throws. Yes, defense, stupid fouls, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm in agreement with you that free throws are as important as all of the fans are making them out to be. I'm sure the team knows that. I don't know what this team can do to get better at them. It's very frustrating because these are all great they're all great shooters. I don't know why this is a problem, and I'm listening to every broadcast and it's like they make it very apparent that Syracuse is one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the worst. The worst. There was some point this season where we were dead last in free throw shooting.
And then also games that they could have won during the Players Era tournament. Mm-hmm. They lost to Houston by 4 points. They missed, now I don't remember off the top of my head, but at the time, it was like about, I want to say 14, 17 free throws missed that game. Make half of them at that point and you win the game by 5. It's annoying because you said, like, yes, three-pointers are important and shooting from all over, and the defense, again, comes down to that, and turnovers. But those are uncontrollables.
Right.
There's rules in how you may take the shot if someone fouls you. But again, if someone fouls you, the one thing that will never change. It's not like one day you're standing at the line and taking a free throw. There's never going to be someone standing in front of you. No one's going to be putting physical pressure on you. It's not going to be like, you're passed and then you shoot. You stand there. You have your time that you're allotted.
Take a breath.
And you take a breath and you shoot. Down. Whether it's you taking a dribble, you spin the ball, you put your foot on the nail in the ground. Everyone has their own thing, but figure out what your thing is and take these shots.
Figure it out, she says. And figure it out. Hopefully they will. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, a little Syracuse football talk as their schedule got released a couple weeks ago. We'll talk about that right when we come back.
My goodness.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be...
Yeah.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. We'll only do this like a 5. Oh, yeah. It's like...
I was going to say, it's actually nowhere near my eye. That's actually weird enough. It's like right at my head, so thankfully the TV kind of things behind us are blocking it. I know it kind of creates a weird line on my head, but not in my eyes yet. Let's see. Talented players that we have, their record should be a lot better. More the players' fault than Red's fault. That's kind of what we were talking about before in terms of like it falling on, if Syracuse doesn't win the national championship for lacrosse, it falling more on that senior class rather than Gary Gate. Where I do think it's sometimes, in this case, partially does come down to the players rather than Coach Autry's fault.
And talking about...
he's not out there shooting the free throws.
Talking about the NIL and transfer portal, the solution to all of this is you can only transfer one time, and if you transfer, you have to sit out a year, or if your head coach gets fired or leaves, you can go and transfer. The fact that some guys, they're on their 5th or 6th school now is just absolutely insane, because college sports across the board, you have to buy into a culture. And it's like it's getting so hard to do that, not only because of the transfer portal, but because if you don't win in your first 3 years as a head coach, you're gone. Like, it's just crazy to me. The need to win, I understand, is at an all-time high, but in every sport, there's only mathematically one team that can win. So it's like, we just need to slow down a little bit.
I completely agree, and it's just with the whole fact of you can transfer once. If you transfer, you have to sit out. If your head coach is fired, if something big happens, I get that. Then yes, you should be able to transfer because of the fact that you did buy into that program.
Yeah. It's like you signed a commitment letter. You are committed to that school.
And I think that it's going to come around to teams are going to do better and be better when people stop switching schools all the time.
Yeah.
When you have a team, it's called a team.
Yeah.
Be a team. They're never going to be able to foster that type of environment, especially with the basketball program. It's what I was talking about last season, and partially this year too. They need to become one with each other, and that's never going to happen when you have a sport like basketball. You got 5 guys on the court at a time. Your roster is small. It's not like a team where you have between 50 and 100 players on it, and yes, if 1, 2 transfers, 5 transfer, whatever. If you got a basketball squad with a total of, let's say, 16 players, or 5 of them transfer, that's a third of your team, and they're gone.
But but it's affected on both sides. Like, how do you buy into a culture where your head coach can get fired after 2 or 3 seasons? And then on the head coach's side, how do you build a culture when your players should only be there for like 1 year?
You don't know who's going to say. There's literally no loyalty.
You know whose fault this is? At the end of the day, this is all LeBron's fault. It all comes down to LeBron. I'm telling you, the one and done, it started. Him. I don't like LeBron James, if you haven't picked that up in my 4 years. I'm a huge, for those of you who are listening and you don't know, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers, like, I'm a number 1 D1 Aaron Rodgers hater, okay? We don't like Aaron Rodgers.
I did not know either of these things about you.
We don't like Aaron Rodgers around here.
I've known you for 8 years.
Yeah, because I'm a Packer fan and, like, just not a fan of his anymore. Him, Tom Brady, we don't like because he's a cheater and not the GOAT. And, I don't like LeBron James.
And do we have more of a reason behind LeBron, or we'll get into that later?
Well, yeah. I'll save that.
For the next break.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back into Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Dylan Vire here with my good friend Alex Pohl. And even though there's snow on the ground and there's no more footballs flying in the dome, we still have a little football news. A couple weeks ago, Syracuse released their schedule for next year, and OMG, it is not a cakewalk, not that any season has ever been. They do start versus New Hampshire, so an easier game to kind of get Angeli back into things, which is, okay, let's just start there. Let's not even talk about any other game. Let's start with Steve Angeli coming back because, yes, he was an awesome quarterback for the 3 games that we had him, but there is no telling what he will look like after coming back from an ACL injury. And that I just want people to be a little cautious of. The Steve Angeli we saw last year might not be the same guy that's coming into next season.
I don't know if I totally agree with that one.
Good.
So, okay. Honestly, I'm going to say no. Okay. Because, first of all, the fact that he is coming back, when we've talked about how no one has loyalty anymore, he did such a phenomenal job with this team. Like I said, he saw him in 3 games. But he beat Clemson. Yep. He did a great job. And so once someone gets injured and then sees the rest of his team have a season like the one that they did, it's so easy for him to be like, wait a second, I want out of here, or to try and transfer. When your team then loses 9 games and can't get a win, it's easy to be like, wait a second, they're not who I thought they were. Then you also have guys that he had connected with who are now graduated and are gone. But he does have that loyalty. He bought in, and he's put in so much time and work since this injury. We saw him in a boot, standing on the field, suited up.
Love to see that.
We heard Fran Brown even talk about it, like, oh, he was trying to throw it around. And I was like, and he was just like, if you're going to do that, you're going to actually, like, get ready to, like, yeah, he's not running around. He was in a boot, but still passing. His arm is the same. So it does, but I mean, passing doesn't happen without the footwork and the proper, being able to explode off of his foot. But at the same time, where concern, I will agree with you in the one sense of, yes, when you come off of an injury, you're not exactly the same. Some people, though, come off an injury even better than they were before. But what I do understand of the ACL potentially not coming back the exact same is the fact that it's hard mentally. I think it's just as much a physical rehab as it is a mental mental rehab because of not being scared, not being protective of his leg. Is he going to maybe not come out of the pocket as much and want to keep himself protected, or slide more, or be more protective of that leg, not wanting to turn out and throw a, I was about to say a shot, and I'm like, I'm just thinking lacrosse over here. But, pass the ball all the way down the field, take these crazy throws if he wants to be protective of his leg. That is a valid concern. But to say he's not going to be the same Steve Angeli, I don't agree with.
Well, hopefully Steve Angeli will come back looking the same as he did last season, because Syracuse's schedule is very tough. They will face 6 teams who had winning seasons, and Syracuse plays 9 straight weeks to close out the season. Their 2 byes come before Thanksgiving, so a lot riding on Fran Brown and this Syracuse squad. So we can only wait to see until next season when we're graduated and we're no longer here. But we will.
Didn't even think about that.
We will still be watching. Don't worry. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, the best football game is upon us, and that is the Super Bowl. Alex and I will give our Super Bowl picks right after the break.
Check out Mike.
What do you think is going to be the toughest game for football?
Let me see this wonderful schedule. Well,
Cal, Pitt, UConn.
Listen, the fact that Notre Dame, they finished with Notre Dame. That team just is on a vengeful season next season for what the committee did to them this year. That's a tough game. I think the toughest game is UVA, because they just had this explosion at the end of the season. They go into that ACC championship game, somehow lose to Duke, and they screw up everyone's brackets. But yeah, I think UVA is a very, very tough game for them next year. But it's just like the ACC is kind of like on the up. The SEC's on the down, which thank God. It was time for someone else's
coaching carnival. They had carousel of a merry-go-round over there, having everyone, swapping around. It is just a mess.
Listen, the fact that LSU is paying 3 coaches right now is just it's insane. It's insane. And I think Lane Kiffin coming in, I don't know if he changes the culture of LSU. I think it was the wrong move for him to go to LSU and chase the money, which is exactly what he did. I think he had a great culture at Ole Miss, and he should have stayed there, because it's like he was actually building something there. And Trinidad Chambliss can't come back, but it's a lot of those players are coming back, and you had a great connection with the OC and the DC, and Ole Miss was actually on the rise to be the next Alabama, and then your coach left, and it's like.
And then that's hard with what you were saying in terms of, transfer portal and then firing coaches after years and coaches jumping around, because like we said, it's so hard for coaches when there's no player loyalty. But then when your coach leaves, I don't think any of those Ole Miss players expected that coming season, and they had such a phenomenal season 2 on top of it. So if you're a head coach to be gone, that's who they bought into.
Right.
They bought into him. They wanted him. They knew that he was building a culture there that they could be a part of, and that even if they didn't win a national championship under him, they could say that they were part of that.
Yeah.
They are part of him, his legacy there, building that next, Alabama, and then he leaves.
Right, which is why I think, I understand that Syracuse football gets less press, but I think the fact that Fran Brown's name hasn't been on the hot seat yet is surprising. I understand last season we were going through a quarterback carousel, but it's like there are other positions than a quarterback last year that contributed to Syracuse's just a horrible, I'm sorry to say, season. And so I wouldn't be surprised next season if Fran Brown's kind of on this hot seat. I understand now it's kind of like a rebuild year, and I don't ever like to use the word lucky when it comes to coaches, because I think Fran Brown is an excellent head coach and he deserves to be the head coach of this football team. But his first year was with Kyle McCord, and Trevor Pena was still here, and LaQuint Allen, and like guys who are actually making a difference in the NFL, who are ready to go. So I think this is really next season going to prove like, okay, what can Fran Brown actually do with the new recruiting class?
Exactly. It's going to come down to what he can do with the new recruiting class, because he did have all the strong players, but some of them and some of the other guys that were kind of like within the depth and that were supportive in those roles were guys who came here for him.
Yeah.
People bought into Fran Brown, and that is why he's as successful as he is. But the fact that you can just lose your quarterback and lose your whole season is crazy to me. But the one thing we do then have to understand is half it isn't his fault. It's the whole NIL transfer portal, because people are there's players that are fine with being, a backup quarterback at Alabama and these big schools. Syracuse, you have your name quarterback. You had your, Garrett Schrader, Kyle McCord. Now you have Steve Angeli. No one wants to be their backup.
No.
I get that. But at the same time, you have to have,
it's okay.
This year was, now we're done.
Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back for our last little bit with you. I'm Dylan Byer with Alex Pohl. Everyone's favorite Sunday is upon us. Yet some people argue, I'm one of those arguers, that it should be Super Bowl Saturday and not Super Bowl Sunday, or have like Monday off, because it's like the Super Bowl's a national holiday at this point. So like the fact that we don't get off on Monday, or like a late start to the work and school day, is like kind of insane to me.
Well, I don't know if you remember, when we were younger, there was at least I want to say maybe even 3 years in a row. There were a few years in a row that we had snow days the Monday after the Super Bowl. We got lucky as kids. It was like
that
middle
could happen
school
here.
that we kept having that, and it was the best thing ever. Fortunately, I think Syracuse is out of snow days.
Yeah. Fortunately, we're saying that happily.
Yes,
We don't want any more snow here. We're good. Trust me. But Sunday, we will see the Seahawks versus the Patriots. And people are like referencing like one of the best Super Bowls of all time, which was that Seahawks-Patriots game where Malcolm Butler intercepted it at the goal line, because why wouldn't you run it with Marshawn Lynch? Marshawn Lynch, I'm right there with you. I am just as angry. But this is Drake May versus Sam Darnold, a matchup that no one expected to see coming into this season. Who is your Super Bowl winner?
Oh my gosh, don't make me do this.
If you say, as a New York native, Alex, if you even say the team starting with a P, I'm not going to be very happy.
I am going to actually, it's going to be interesting. The reason I'm going to say the Seahawks is because it's more of I want them to win.
Okay.
For the sake of, I love Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I do. And part of it is because I am a Jets fan. A painful, sad,
I was saying, there's no way you just admitted that.
Jets fan. But he, there was like shirts that are like a play on his name, like same darn old Jets, Sam Darn. He, I think an issue, going off topic quickly, an issue with the Jets is the fact that they don't have a strong O-line, and that's who protects the quarterback, whatever. Because he has done a phenomenal job of sticking with it, proving himself, working his way up, and he's done it.
Yeah.
He's gone to the Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
Well, he's done it before, but this could be when he wins this Super Bowl. And I have faith in him and his abilities, and the fact that I just love him as a quarterback and as a player, and someone who really stuck through it, went through the trenches, was backup after backup, and proved himself and got here to this spot. And also the first Super Bowl I truly ever paid attention to, with my friends, was like kind of like placing tags and bets on stuff as a fourth grader, was when the Seahawks...
You were betting in fourth grade, Alex?
We did it was donuts.
Seems pretty illegal.
It was in my math class on donuts, and we got milkshakes, and it was the best thing ever. And it was in Mr. Q's math class, but I had my fourth grade teacher was from Seattle, huge Seahawks fan, and that was when they won when we were in fourth grade. So I don't know. I'm getting some reminiscent juju. I'm kind of feeling it.
I'm right there with you. I think the Seahawks are going to win, not only because I hate the Patriots, but because the Patriots don't have a single player with 25 or more explosive receptions, which is something that more than half the league can claim that they have. When you think of the Seahawks, you think of JSN, and you think of Cooper Kupp, and you think of Kenneth Walker, and then you look on the other side of the ball, they have the #1 scoring defense in the league. So this Seahawks team is just all around a great team. And then when I think of the Patriots, I'm like, oh wait, okay, but the Patriots have Stephon Diggs, but it's like, wait, this isn't the Stephon Diggs of the Minnesota Vikings or the Buffalo Bills. Like, he's kind of dipped off. Mac Hollins has made some great plays down the stretch, but I'm just not as listen, Drake May, he was on my fantasy team. Love him, love his wife, have bought into Bakemas. But I don't think it's always the Patriots' time. I don't think it's Drake May's time. I think Sam Darnold has the up on him. So Alex and I are in agreement. It's Seattle Seahawks will be your Super Bowl winners. And if they're not, we will come back here next Monday, and I won't apologize. I'll just be
happy Monday.
Sad. Well, that's all the time we have for today here on Newhouse Afternoon. We will see you next week, hopefully after a Seahawks victory. I'm Dylan Byer with Alex Pohl. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
This is Orange Nation.